Hello everyone, coming back to you with another video here, kind of a quick comparison between these two vehicles, the Arrma Kraton EXB and the Traxxas Sledge, along with a little bit of a kind of a PSA. And so I'm going to kind of give some comparisons after having run these two a bit and been able to make an honest comparison. I did a kind of a video here, but this is going to be more of a full-on comparison between the two. More or less just comparing price points, and then various things that I've done to each one and so forth. So let's start with the Sledge. You can see I've added the RPM front bumper, just to have some protection, because honestly that's one of my cons about this thing is the original protection it has. There's literally no protection right here for the body. So if you run this thing up against something, at least now this bumper will take the impact instead of it going straight to the body and damaging the body. And these bodies are not cheap. I mean, they're about 70, 80 bucks for a body, so I really don't want to damage the body. The other is this wheelie bar back here, which now you can see I've added the rubber and rubber and aluminum anodized wheels. You can see I've added the sway bars. I've talked about that before, and that's really about it. That's about all the new updates on it. You can't see it, but I've also added some spacers to lock the motor in place with the original motor mount, and because I've kept the gearing stock. So that's one thing I'll say about in comparison is one of the reasons I found out that the Kraton is a bit faster than the Sledge is they are geared differently. The Kraton has a 16-tooth pinion with a 50-tooth spur. The Sledge has a 52-tooth spur with a 13-tooth pinion. So the Sledge will leave off the line a little bit harder, but the Kraton has the higher overall speed because it is geared a little bit taller. That said, the Kraton also gets off the line a little bit quicker, and I will go into that because as I discovered when I got this. This is literally the only modification I have made to the Kraton. The Kraton literally has no other upgrades on it whatsoever. It had sway bars with it out the box. It had these front bumpers with it. This front bumper with it out the box. It has seen itself on the roof already. I've tuned the suspension a little bit. I towed in the front tires a little bit. I pulled in the camber and added a little bit of negative camber to the rear tires. But the major thing about this vehicle is the way it's programmed out the box. The ESC that it comes with is fully programmable, and you can it's actually got about 9 different points that you can program from. You can add in or take away drag brake. You can add in or take away normal brake, reverse. The modes you can run it in sport mode where you just have forward and brake. You can have forward brake and reverse. You can throttle limit, and I believe you also have just straight forward and reverse with no brake whatsoever. You have an adjustable BEC, and you can actually adjust timing on this thing as well, which was something that I realized out the box. The punch control on this thing is turned up to about 7. I bumped it up to to 9, give it to give it a little bit more of a soft start. But I also backed off the timing and went completely to 0 degrees on the timing. This thing had 22.5 degrees of timing in it. Which what I noticed was the motor was getting kind of hot, the ESC was getting kind of warm, and I figured it was just due to the taller gearing until I hooked this programmer up to it and went through all the default settings on it, and then that's when I realized that it was a whole lot of timing coming on it. The BEC is turned up to 7.4, so that explains why the servo is a bit faster. Sorry, Traxxas. But as well, I went ahead and took some of the timing out of it to make this thing not so dang wheelie happy, because unfortunately from Arrma, the wheelie bars, the wheelie bar for this thing is on back order, and they're not sure when it's gonna be back in stock. So I cannot get a wheelie bar for this thing at all unless I go with an aftermarket one, which I don't really want to go with an aluminum one because it's going to add more weight to the back end, and I don't like the way this thing sags already when it takes off on the back end. And so I'm going to wait until Arrma comes back in stock with the plastic ones. I like the stock wheelie bar on it. So that's really about the only addition that I'm going to make to this thing is the wheelie bar, because by turning the timing down, now this thing at top speed, yes, it's lost some top speed, but it's a whole lot more controllable at that top speed. The tires don't balloon up as much, and it's just a whole lot more controllable, even though these tires aren't belted. Because unfortunately, there again, another issue that I had with the local hobby shop is the only tires that they had that would fit this thing were Proline trenchers, which are just ginormous for this for this vehicle. So I opted to keep the stock wheels on it, and just went with that programming setup. And just by doing that, it's made the vehicle, by backing off the timing, adding a little bit of drag brake, increasing the overall brake, and then I increased the reverse. It's made it a lot more controllable, and overall a lot more fun to run. You can, I mean, like I said, I dialed back, up the punch control a little bit. I'm pretty much maxed it out. It's got 9 levels, 9 settings for the punch control. It's got 9 levels for either 8 or 9 levels for the timing. You can, like I said, I bumped the drag brake up a little bit. I'm running it at about 8% drag brake, and that's simply because that's what I also run in this Rustler. And I kind of like the little bit of drag brake, where when you let off the throttle, the thing kind of automatically slows down, and you don't have to hit the brakes as hard to make it stop. But overall, what I'm gonna say about the two is, I've driven both of these, the Sledge more so than the Kraton, just because I've had the Sledge for a few more months. And what I'll say about both of them is, both of these trucks, you can't really go wrong either way. They're both extremely fun trucks to drive. I kind of like the way the Sledge drives at top speed, because I just still feel like it holds the road better than the Kraton. The Kraton is extremely fun to drive. It is extremely powerful. And what I will say is, I'll stick to my original opinion on this. If you've watched the previous video that I made on these, it was more or less an initial review on this Kraton, but it was kind of a soft comparison between the two, and I still kind of stick to my guns on it. I do feel like the Sledge is the better driving vehicle, but I do feel like the Kraton is the better overall value, because this Kraton was $820. It's got a ton of upgrade parts already on it. It's got sway bars. It's got it's got aluminum differentials. It's just got a whole slew of upgrade parts on it. The programmable ESC, an adjustable built-in BEC so it runs at 7.4, and the servo is a lot more powerful, a lot faster than the Sledge servo out the box. So overall, I do feel like the Kraton is still the better value, because at $820, literally all I spent was an additional $40 for that programmer, and this truck now for me is perfect. The Sledge, on the other hand, it's not a complete put down of the Sledge, but the Sledge, I got it on sale for $650. So I got it for $150 off. This is normally a $800 vehicle, and then I've probably added an additional $100 at least in parts. From the sway bars to the wheelie bar to the aluminum wheels on the wheelie bar, just so I can hold wheel stands better, to the front bumper, to the cooling fan for the motor, all of those things. And then I still don't have the adjustability on the suspension that I have on this Kraton. And so at that point, once I add these adjustable links to the suspension, I'll be well into this thing. On the normal price, I would be well into the $1,000 range on this Traxxas Sledge versus the $820, not including any batteries on either one of these, folks. And so that's why I stand by it. The Sledge to me it holds the road better, it drives better, and I think it has to do with these belted tires as opposed to non-belted tires on the Kraton, and as well as the tires being a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, and giving you a better contact patch than the tires on the Kraton. But the Kraton is still a better value out the box, especially this version with all the additional upgrades, the spiral cut gears, the 775 shock towers, all the red anodized aluminum parts, and then the the adjustable ESC. So all in all, like I said, under normal circumstances, I'd be into the $1,000 range on this Sledge, whereas this Kraton I'm in for about $860. So for about $200 less, I get everything This truck has everything that this truck would cost me about $1,000 to outfit it with. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Arrma, Traxxas, Kraton, Sledge. As always, let me know in the comments. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day and a wonderful week. And like I said, if you like the video, give me a like. Maybe give me a subscribe. But above all else, please leave me a comment, because I love and value everyone's opinions. I love chatting with people involved in this hobby, and that's what it's all about, y'all, is just spreading love and the joy that this hobby brings. So, like I said, you guys, and a quick note, the Gorgon's got some new shoes. So, as always, you guys have a wonderful day, wonderful evening, and as always, happy RCing, everybody.